Do you think you still have the right to see her? Kelsey stood at the doorway, holding Ruby, her gaze cold and sharp. The little girl clung tightly to her, looking at me without any trace of recognition. 3 years, I had searched for her every single day, yet she appeared before me as if nothing had ever happened. I stood at the living room doorway, my body stiff. Diane was behind me, holding my hand, her eyes calm but complex. The confrontation at the door had begun. 3 years of disappearance, humiliation, and waiting converged in this moment. She is my child now, you can't just. Kelsey's tone was impatient, her eyes sweeping over us as if confirming her victory. Ruby murmured softly, "Mom," but there was no familiarity or joy in her voice, as if the words were mechanically repeated. I took a deep breath, sliding my hand into my pocket, trying to keep my voice calm and firm. "Kelsey, for 3 years you hid her from me. We couldn't find her. You didn't answer calls, you wouldn't allow meetings, and you told her I didn't want her. Do you know what that made me go through every night?" Kelsey laughed mockingly. "That was your choice, wasn't it? Do you think you're an innocent victim?" Her voice was full of disdain, each word like a cold blade. Ruby stayed close to her, her small hand clutching Kelsey's clothes, sensing her tension. I knew she was too young to understand the complexities and cruelty of the adult world. I didn't step forward, nor did I shout. I slowly crouched down, extending my hand, my voice low and gentle. "Ruby, do you remember Dad? Your favorite chocolate pancakes, Dad made them for you every weekend." Ruby blinked slightly, as if trying to recall, but shook her head hesitantly. Kelsey's frown deepened, and she quickly tightened her arms around the child, saying coldly, "Don't try to get close to her. She's with me now." Diane gently steadied my shoulder. "Don't argue with her, stay firm." I looked at her, a flood of complex emotions surging. Diane had been my only emotional support these years. For 3 years, I had devoted nearly all my time and energy to finding Ruby. Loneliness, helplessness, humiliation, but Diane had brought a faint light into my life. Kelsey sighed softly, her tone colder. "Do you think you can still change anything? She doesn't recognize you anymore. What have you been doing all these years? Sending money? Messages? All in vain." I raised my hand, pointing at her. "You hid from her yourself, preventing me from seeing her. That isn't futility, it's your selfishness. You took the child from my life, made me out to be the villain. Do you know what that meant for me?" Kelsey didn't answer, just stared at me provocatively, seemingly enjoying the superiority her power gave her. Ruby leaned slightly on her shoulder, her eyes confused. Diane frowned slightly. "You think using a child to control my boyfriend's life will work? It won't." Kelsey sneered, her voice carrying an obvious threat. "For now, nothing can be changed. This is temporary. After my honeymoon with my boyfriend, she will continue to go with me." A cold smile tugged at my lips. I slowly stood straight, eyes sharp as knives. "You disappeared for 3 years. I never stopped searching. I've been waiting for this moment, Kelsey. You think vanishing for 3 years could change the facts? Ruby will choose the father she knows, not the false security you imagine." Kelsey's gaze faltered for a moment, then she quickly regained her coldness. "You're too naive." I said no more, crouching to gently touch Ruby's small hand. The child didn't pull away, the faint contact made my heart tighten. I whispered, "Dad has been looking for you every single day, Ruby. I never gave up." Kelsey's lips twitched, a flicker of discomfort crossing her eyes. She said nothing, just tightened her hold and began moving toward the door with the child. I stood steadily, calmly blocking the doorway. "Doorway or not, listen to me. You hid her for 3 years, prevented me from seeing her, and disrupted legal procedures. You have to take responsibility, not just leave her now." Kelsey stopped, glancing back at me, a trace of impatience in her eyes. "You think you can do anything?" I didn't answer immediately, locking eyes with her, my voice low and firm. "I will make you understand that avoidance doesn't solve anything. You took her from me for 3 years, but you no longer control our connection. Ruby will choose her father, and you will pay for your selfishness." The air at the doorway suddenly grew heavy, as if everyone held their breath. Ruby slowly lifted her head, her eyes showing a hint of curiosity and doubt. I gently held her hand. "Dad is here, Ruby. Shall we go home?" Kelsey didn't answer, just inhaled softly. tilting her head, standing with the child. Diane placed her hand lightly on my shoulder. She's scared, but you're calm. She feels you. I took a deep breath, locking my gaze on Kelsey. In this moment, all the accumulated power was contained in my calm. You won't find her, forget it. That was a cold morning 3 years ago. Kelsey said it over the phone, her voice teasing, as if mocking me. The words hit me like a heavy stone. My hand trembled holding the phone, but I knew I couldn't stop. Ruby was only 4 then, and I had completely lost contact. I stood in front of the empty apartment, neighbors staring curiously but silent. Kelsey had vanished with the child. All I could do was report it to the police. They shook their heads. Joint custody is a civil matter, we can't help. At that moment, I realized it wasn't just about the child being absent. It was society's indifference toward me. Every call I made, every knock, every letter felt like talking to the air. No response, no explanation. I hired a lawyer, a middle-aged man, steady but seemingly helpless. I'll help you track them, but civil resources are limited. It may take a long time. 6 months later, he called apologetically. I checked all databases, relatives, and friends. No trace of her. I nearly collapsed. For 3 years, every morning I woke thinking of Ruby, unable to sleep at night, always asking, where is she? Is she safe? Does she remember me? Every no result felt like a harsh slap. The deepest pain wasn't loneliness but humiliation. Everyone assumed I couldn't protect my own child. Colleagues said, you look exhausted. I smiled, my child is missing. Do you know what that means? They just shook their heads, unable to understand. Each explanation felt like being a powerless mute, my efforts met with silent contempt. So I acted. Every day, I drove to places she might be, her kindergarten, parks she visited, supermarkets. I used every method to gather information. I checked relatives, neighbors, friends, even social media for any trace. Once, on a remote street, I knocked on a door. A stranger answered, I haven't seen Kelsey for a long time. Are you sure you're looking for her? I gritted my teeth, nodding, please tell me anything, even a tiny clue. She shrugged and closed the door. I stood there, the cold wind biting my face, my heart frozen, but I did not retreat. I even tried tracing phone numbers and social accounts. Kelsey's number was disconnected, email inactive. Every lead pointed to a void, as if she and the child vanished from the world. Court notices, state government checks returned, every reminder that my connection to Ruby was being severed. One day, the final notice from the state arrived. If the child couldn't be found, the case would close in 90 days. I gripped the letter, knuckles white. The lawyer fell silent on the phone, then whispered, case closure doesn't immediately strip your rights, but the court may terminate custody due to long absence. You must continue paying child support, that's your only legal link to her. So I continued writing checks each month, even if they bounced. I spent all my savings, drove across states following every lead, knocking on countless doors. Once, at a relative's home, I haven't seen Kelsey in a year, there's nothing I can do. I nodded, quietly thanked them, but my heart ached. Every night, returning to an empty apartment, I'd stand at Ruby's room door, whispering, I'm still looking for you, darling. I promise, I'm always searching. I nearly broke down. At work, I was distracted, almost falling asleep daily. Someone asked, are you okay? I quietly replied, my child is missing. No one knew how to console me. I stopped expecting comfort. I just kept moving. During these 3 years, I endured countless humiliations. Kelsey mocked me over the phone, calling me an irresponsible father. Relatives and friends shook their heads repeatedly, saying I was asking for trouble. The social system was almost powerless, courts and police left me helpless. But after each humiliation, I accumulated strength. I learned to analyze every clue calmly, record each search result. Every disappointment became the direction for the next move. I knew emotional breakdowns wouldn't bring Ruby back, but strategy and patience could. Every call from the lawyer, I documented carefully. He reminded me of legal limits. I organized possible hiding spots, past routines, social connections. I learned to use law and reality to maintain indirect oversight. Not complete, but better than nothing. At the same time, I built new support in life. When Diane appeared, I first felt understood. She had endured similar pain, knew helpless parents' struggles. She didn't speak much, just silently accompanied me, helping me restore some order and strength. Once, I complained, I feel like I'm betraying Ruby because I'm starting to live my own life. Diane held my hand, calm and firm, you're not betraying her. You're living, keeping hope for her. She needs your strength, and you have the right to live too. It was in these 3 years that I realized I wasn't powerless. I could travel across states to follow leads, record every clue, use the law to maintain a tenuous connection. I learned to remain calm amid chaos, responding with action, not emotion. For 3 years, I never gave up on Ruby, never stopped paying child support, never stopped searching. I understood Kelsey's selfishness and society's indifference could not change my responsibility, nor could it take away my love for my daughter. All of this became the foundation for my future revenge, calm, patient, strategic, and unbreakable. Finally, in the 37th month, the state updated Kelsey's new address. She reappeared in our lives, and I was ready, not with fear, but with calm, precision, and strength. You finally showed up. I thought you'd vanished forever. Kelsey stood at the door, her tone feigning casual ease, but I sensed her hidden tension. I crouched, looked at Ruby, gently holding her small hand. Ruby, Dad is here. I've been looking for you. Ruby's eyes were still uncertain but not resistant. She lightly grasped my hand, seeking a familiar warmth. Diane stood behind me, observing Kelsey. Every movement Kelsey made revealed her unease. She cautiously held Ruby, trying to prevent her from approaching me. I slowly stood, my voice low and firm. Kelsey, your disappearance for 3 years, your obstruction every step of the way, every single act was your selfish choice. You took the child from her father, thinking I was powerless, but I never stopped searching, and I won't stop now. Kelsey's lips twitched, a cold laugh escaping. You think standing here and saying that changes anything? You have no proof, no legal protection. Ruby is with me, I can take her away anytime. I didn't respond emotionally. I pulled out the evidence my lawyer had compiled, 3 years of tracking records, bank statements for every child support payment, witness statements, government notices. I laid them on the table slowly and firmly. Look, these are undeniable facts. During your 3-year disappearance, I recorded your movements every day, maintained every contact with Ruby. Kelsey's eyes began to flicker, her fingers trembling as she tried to grip the child tighter. But Ruby instinctively stepped back. Her defense was starting to crumble. I continued calmly, you think you control everything, but all you've done is expose yourself. You can avoid the law, but you cannot avoid reality. Children choose their parents. That is an unchangeable truth. Diane stepped closer, her voice low and icy. You think using a child to threaten my boyfriend works? You don't realize you're trapped between the law and reality. Kelsey's face went pale instantly. Her lips moved, trying to speak, but reason held her back. Her hands shook, her hold on Ruby stiffened. I stepped closer slowly, maintaining distance, eyes never leaving her. For 3 years, you caused her anxiety, humiliated me, disrespected the law. I've documented it all. Now, there's no way out, no excuses. Ruby looked at me, a familiar light shining in her eyes. She whispered, Daddy. That single word struck Kelsey's defenses like a hammer. Her face twisted, voice trembling. You can't take her, she's my child. I stared coldly, my tone steady. Her safety and happiness are in my hands. You've lost control. You cannot use fear to threaten us anymore. Kelsey began to plead, voice quivering. I just wanted to care for her, just temporarily. I wouldn't hurt her. I shook my head slowly, calm but firm. Temporary? 3 years is what you call temporary. Now your excuses mean nothing. The child's choice is clear. Diane stepped closer. I see, you've been using the child as a weapon for years, thinking you control everything. Now you've only exposed your incompetence. Kelsey's hands trembled, tears welling up. She tried to resist, but Ruby held tightly to me, refusing to approach Kelsey. Fear and despair were evident. I calmly gathered the evidence, turning to Ruby. Ruby, Dad is here. We can go home now. Ruby hugged me tightly, regaining a lost warmth. I looked at Kelsey. She could no longer maintain any authority, standing trembling, mumbling, I just wanted. I said nothing more, speaking calmly. You must face the consequences. Your 3 years of selfishness and hiding have made you lose her trust and security. From today, you no longer control anything. Kelsey trembled, nearly begging, I can make it up. I gave a cold, firm smile. No making up. Your time is past. Now, the child chooses her own life. Ruby nodded slightly in my arms, her eyes bright and determined. She knew, in this moment, she had regained her familiar father. Diane lightly held my hand, voice low. You were calm and powerful. 3 years of waiting finally paid off. Now, she can't threaten us anymore. I looked at Kelsey, seeing her trembling body and utterly shattered fear in her eyes. Every humiliation, every moment of helplessness over 3 years, had finally received a response. Kelsey slowly retreated to the doorway, almost pleading, please, don't take her. I crouched, level with Ruby. Ruby chooses Dad. You no longer control her life. Now, you must face your consequences. Her body shook, voice choked, ultimately retreating to the doorway, powerless. I stood, holding Ruby's hand tightly, Diane guarding us from behind. Sunlight poured through the window, illuminating the sense of safety we rebuilt. Kelsey's shadow remained at the door, but she no longer had power, only trembling and fear. I gently said to Ruby, let's go home, sweetheart. Dad's been looking for you. Ruby nodded firmly, a smile slowly emerging. Diane stood silently nearby, watching the reunion between father and daughter, her eyes warm and approving. 3 years of waiting, humiliation, and pressure had finally met response through calmness and patience. Kelsey's threat was completely neutralized, and we regained freedom and familial bonds.